Hey guys! Welcome to another video of Top 5 Today. Today we are going to talk about the top 5 most horrifying murder cases that are too chilling to forget. From the twisted mind of a serial killer who terrorized an entire community, to the brutal murder of a celebrity that shocked the world, we will delve into some of the most shocking and disturbing crimes ever committed. We'll provide you with all the chilling details, including the motive behind each murder, the gruesome methods used, and the aftermath of the crimes. But be warned, this video is not for the faint-hearted. These cases are truly horrifying and will leave you with chills down your spine. So, if you're ready to explore the darker side of humanity, then let's dive into the top 5 most horrifying murder cases of all time. Number 5. The murder of Dorothy Stratton. Dorothy Stratton, when 18 years old, first met Paul Snider. They were both working at a Dairy Queen in British Columbia, Canada. She was courted by him with flattering words, and he promised her fame. In fact, Snider convinced Stratton to move to Los Angeles in order to participate in Playboy's 25th anniversary Great Playmate Hunt after encouraging her to pursue modeling. Snider grabbed her up with the intention of profiting from her. Stratton had great promise, and Hugh Hefner anticipated she would succeed Marilyn Monroe. Stratton made her acting debut as Miss August 1979 in the movie Playboy. She later went on to play in films including Buck Rogers, Fantasy Island, and Galazina. Stratton was moving up the Hollywood chain quickly. She had already gained the reputation of being one of the few budding goddesses of the new decade in the media. In the movie, Stratton played Audrey Hepburn's co-star. While filming in New York, she fell in love with the movie's director, Peter Bogdanovich. Snider hired a private investigator to monitor Stratton after growing suspicious of her. But when she got home, she told her husband the truth: she was in love with Bogdanovich and desired a divorce. Snider was quiet most of the time, at least when she wasn't around. But after Stratton called it off, his friends claimed that he started taking an unusual interest in hunting and guns. He acquired a 12-gauge shotgun, attended a few shooting classes, and started insinuating that Playboy had a rule against publishing naked pictures of women who had been killed. On August 14, 1980, Stratton visited Snider at his home to discuss a property division she had promised him during the divorce. Snider, on the other hand, would use their exclusivity as an opportunity to strike. Stratton was killed when Snider used a 12-gauge shotgun to shoot her in the eye. After raping his deceased wife's body, he turned the shotgun on himself. Stratton had all the makings to become one of the next major Hollywood stars, but her name is now indelibly linked to the notorious murder she committed. Number 4. Sharon Tate's murder. Since the actress Sharon Tate was brutally murdered by the Manson family while she was more than 8 months pregnant, Hollywood and the rest of America have been terrified. On the evening of August 8, 1969, Tate was at home with his friends Wojciech Frykowski, Abigail Folger, and renowned hairdresser Jay Sebring. Roman Polanski, the filmmaker she is married to, was filming a movie abroad. The couple was renting a luxurious property in the Benedict Canyon suburb of Los Angeles at the time, which would eventually serve as the scene of the terrible crimes. The notorious cult leader Charles Manson instructed a few of his devoted followers to break into the residence and kill everyone inside, as gruesomely as you can. Stephen Parent, who was just 18, was visiting the estate's caretaker when the cult members shot and killed him as soon as they arrived. Then they entered with their sights set on the occupants. The 4 persons were gathered and imprisoned in the living room. Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, was allegedly being severely mistreated, according to Sebring. But all he received was a knife after a knife driven into his body, a bullet in the chest, and a foot in the face. Folger and Frykowski were able to free themselves from their restraints and make an escape attempt. The escape attempt was unsuccessful. The murderers chased after them and brutally stabbed them several times. Only Tate had managed to stay alive. She begged her captors to release her so that she could give birth to a healthy kid. The Manson family, however, was unperturbed. Her blood was used to write the word "pig" on the front door after they fatally stabbed her. Manson's attack was intended to target the residents specifically. Terry Melcher, the previous tenant who had refused Manson a record deal, was the target of Manson's wrath. By the end of the year, authorities had caught both Manson and all of the attackers from that particular night. they received a life in prison sentence and the death penalty. Each and every request for parole has been denied. Number 3. Kitty Genovese's crying for help. The murder of Kitty Genovese, which happened in front of several of her neighbors and outside of her flat, outraged the public. While screaming for help, the young woman was brutally killed, and the neighbors who heard her screams did nothing to help. The psychiatrists questioned how someone could watch an assault or a crime being committed and do nothing. In practically every psychology textbook today, the term bystander effect that scientists invented is used. Kitty Genovese left the pub she worked at in Hollis, Queens, approximately 2:30 a.m. on March 13, 1964, and drove to her flat in Kew Gardens. She was unaware that a car was following her from a nearby parking lot all the way home. Genovese left her car parked at the train station and started to make her way 100 feet to her flat building. Winston Moseley then assaulted her. Genovese screamed as the knife pierced her. At 3:15 a.m., her cries for help were loud enough to wake up her neighbors. But none of them jumped to her aid. "Leave that girl alone," yelled one man. Moseley was sufficiently alarmed to go, but even when he was gone, nobody assisted Genovese in getting to her feet again. She slowly started bleeding out as she crawled on the ground for 10 minutes without any assistance. Moseley then made a return. A few witnesses said that despite dialing 911, their calls were not given priority. Others merely stated that they assumed someone else would have carried out the task in its place. Genovese's neighbors' actions claimed the life of the young woman. Number 2. The boy in the box. Even after 60 years, no one is still closer to solving the riddle of the boy in the box. It all started on a road just outside of Philadelphia on a chilly February day in 1957. A teenage muskrat hunter discovered a cardboard box in the woods while inspecting his traps. Inside was the body of a little child, who had been stripped nude and brutally murdered. The hunter of muskrats kept his identity a secret. He was concerned that the police would pursue him for setting illegal traps if he notified anybody. The boy's body therefore lay cold and decaying in the woods for days until someone braver came upon him. Only one modest act of kindness had been shown to the kid who had been left alone in the box. He had been wrapped in a blanket and left to rot by whoever had slain him. It was the only sign of affection he'd received. The police took the boy's fingerprints in the hopes of discovering a match, but nothing was found. Hundreds of thousands of flyers were sent around the neighborhood, requesting information about the unnamed boy, but no one responded. His parents never claimed him as one of their children. The investigators did everything they could to solve the case. They looked at everything from the cardboard box to the blanket he was wrapped in at the crime site. Every trail they took, however, led to a fresh dead end. For more than 60 years, one of the most infamous crimes in American history has gone unsolved. Nobody is aware of the identity of the child or how he ended up in a box in the woods naked and damaged. Tragically, the world will likely never even discover the identity of America's unknown child after all these years. The number 1 in the list is the Zodiac Killer. Most criminals conceal their wrongdoing, but Zodiac, as he went by, was not like other criminals. Between 1968 and 1969, he terrorized San Francisco with his murderous rampage while taunting the police with messages to the local newspaper in code. He claimed to have killed 37 individuals, but at least 5 other killings had him involved. He was scared when he saw David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, laying outside of their bullet-riddled car. Faraday passed away from a head wound while being transported to the hospital, while Jensen perished at the scene from 5 gunshot wounds to her back. A half year later, a married couple who had parked their car 4 miles from the crime scene were shot to death, one of them being wounded and the other being killed. A survivor named Michael Mageau was able to identify the murderer. He identified himself as a 5 feet 8 inches heavyset Caucasian man. The Zodiac Killer himself would provide the police with the final piece of proof. The following night at 12:48 a.m., police received a strange call. "I would like to report 2 murders. The kids are in a brown automobile, and you can find them if you drive 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to a public park. They have received 9mm Luger shots. Last year, I also murdered those children. Goodbye." The first letter from the Zodiac Killer was delivered to the media a month later. He threatened to go on a murdering spree unless the letter was published on the main page. The murders were described in the letter, which was written in cryptic ciphers that appeared to constitute a code. This was a recurring subject in his subsequent letters, which were all signed with a cross-circle symbol. A high school instructor and his wife decoded one of these letters. It said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is THAE. When I die I will be reborn in paradise, and THE I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to sloi down or atop my collection of slaves for my afterlife. Ebi Orietameth Piety." Police were frustrated by the Zodiac Killer's tortuous trail of evidence, which included coded messages, anonymous phone calls, the cross-circle markings on victims' cars, blood-stained clothes, and witness testimony, yet they were never able to apprehend him. I don't know about you, but after reading and researching about these crimes, all I can think about is how we as humans can sometimes become too cruel and heartless. Even when I watch something related to this, and I see murderer going back to his family after doing some horrible things or taking life of someone else, he don't even think once that the victim spent last so many years living and it all ended in blink of an eye. The criminal doesn't even think that, like himself, there are people who cares about the victim as well. Not only this, but Kitty Genovese's case left me shocked. We call ourselves living in a developed society, but no one has guts to interfere if it is not relating to them or is not something of their interest, even when other person's life is at stake. Even dog helps each other if they sense harm on their mates. We humans are just sick. We stand and watch but do nothing. How we are better than people who are actually murdering someone? Anyways, these crimes represent some of the darkest aspects of humanity and the immense harm that individuals can inflict on one another. It is important to remember that while these crimes are extremely rare, they serve as a reminder that we must always remain vigilant and take steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones from harm. Ultimately, we must strive to learn from these tragedies and work towards creating a safer, more just society where such atrocities can be prevented and justice can be served for those who have been wronged. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and share your views in comment section. Do subscribe the channel for more content like this. Adios.